Hi everyone, it's me Catherine, and today I'm here to talk to you about some of my thoughts and opinions on The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzi Lee. So this is an historical romance set at some point in the 1700s following Henry Monty Montague and his best friend Percy as they set off on their tour of the continent. Monty's sister Felicity along for the ride as far as Marseille, where they'll be dropping her off at finishing school. Only things don't quite go according to plan because Monty is a bit of a disaster as a human being, so because of him the trio end up on an adventure across Europe that they really weren't expecting. So let's introduce our main characters. So first up we have Monty, a white bisexual man who, as previously mentioned, is a bit of a disaster. He's also very much in love with his best friend Percy, a biracial man who is an absolute darling and must be protected at all costs. Percy's also been living with a chronic illness, a chronic disorder for the past couple of years, unbeknownst to Monty. And then we have Felicity, Monty's sister, who is on the arrow ace end of the spectrum and has absolutely no time for Monty and his shenanigans. She also just basically wants to spend most of her time reading and learning as much as she can. So overall I really enjoyed this book, and I'll just take this moment to say that I would definitely recommend the audiobook. It's narrated by Christian Coulson, who played Tom Riddle in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and he is the perfect Monty. But I just loved this story, and just in general I really loved this book, and I definitely count it as one of my favourites of the year so far. It was just a lot of fun seeing these characters on their adventure, seeing all the trouble they get themselves into, that Monty gets them into, and seeing them get themselves out. I also really enjoyed the interactions between the characters, especially Monty and Felicity. I tend to love sibling relationships in general, and theirs didn't disappoint. Like, you can clearly see that they care about each other, but they're very standoffish about it, and myself not being a particularly openly affectionate person, I really loved seeing that. Obviously the main relationship is the one between Monty and Percy, their friendship and Monty trying and failing to deal with his feelings for his best friend. And then we have Percy, sweet Percy, who seems to be completely oblivious to Monty's feelings, but considering he's got his own stuff going on, that's completely understandable. On a more serious note, although it is a lot of fun seeing these characters on their adventure and whatnot, there is a more serious tone to the story, content warning for abuse and alcoholism. So I've mentioned that Monty is a bit of a disaster, and I think a lot of that is down to being who he is in a time where it's pretty much illegal, and also down to his dad, who is a massive dick, who beat into Monty, literally, that he's not worth much as a human being, and I think the alcoholism comes as a result of that. Monty, as good as, hates who he is, and although it's never properly addressed, he definitely developed a drink problem. He spends a lot of the novel either drinking or wishing he had a drink, wishing he was drunk. So although there's an element of fun to Monty and the stuff he gets up to, there's also this hovering over him the whole time. Monty jokes about how good looking he is, and we know he's bedded a lot of people, men and women, but at the same time you know that he doesn't believe he's worthy of anybody's love, and he can't understand why Percy sticks around, and it's kind of heartbreaking. Monty needs someone like Percy who will stick around, who can show him that he is worthy of being loved, that he's not broken, and for that reason I love the two of them as a pairing, whether romantically or not. Saying that, Monty is pretty ignorant of the privileges afforded him as an upper class able-bodied white man, and he can be incredibly selfish and unable to look past his own wants and desires. On the other hand, we have Percy, who is such a decent human being who is shit on by society because of his skin colour and his illness, who deserves somebody who will see his value, who doesn't take him for granted and doesn't put their own needs above his all the time. So I would completely understand if Percy were ever to kick Monty to the curb. Like, it would crush Monty, but I think Percy deserves better. I know I said that Monty needs Percy, but at the same time Percy deserves better than Monty. That's not to say that Monty doesn't develop as a character, because he does. Throughout the novel he's made to look at his worst bits, and he's also made to question everything he's ever learnt about himself from his father, and he does get better. However, I am wary of Percy being used as a way to teach Monty the error of his able-bodied white man thinking, because Percy's illness is a big plot mover in this story, and I don't like that Monty's perspective is the only one we get. Like, the story is told from Monty's point of view, and while I do love Monty, that means it's all about him and what he wants, and Percy's just sort of along for the ride, and that took a little bit of something away from the story for me. Overall I did love it, and I will read it again and again. I have read it again and again, but I just wish a little bit of more consideration had been given to Percy as a character, that's all. So that's it. Those are just some of my thoughts on The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below some of your thoughts if you've read it, and I will hopefully see you in another video. Bye!